Hi there, welcome to another episode of the EcoSend podcast. I'm thrilled to be back. I'm James, your host, and I am thrilled today to be joined by a wonderful guest. Now, I am so excited to welcome Jesse to the show because Jesse is in a very similar world to me. We're going to be talking a lot about digital sustainability, the impact of the web and our digital lives on the planet. And Jesse, for those of you who don't know, Jesse Ramon Brown is the founder and CEO of, I think, two companies, Enverse Labs and Sprout, which is, I know about Sprout. So Sprout is the no-code platform that helps you build a sustainable website in just minutes. So I'm very excited to unpack all of this. Jesse, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. That was a
Great.
great intro, by the way.
I try my best. I might have been helped, but Jesse, I know we were talking a little bit just before the call. You're in
Mhm.
Madrid right now, which is making me very, very jealous. Until you told me the temperatures over there.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I'm currently in Madrid. I've been in Madrid for about 3 years now, and
yeah.
yeah, actually really happy to be here because I think it's a city that's really well, it's taking the lead on many renewable projects in Europe.
Mm,
Um, I think mostly because there's lots of like solar companies that have started in Spain.
mm,
So yeah, it's great to be around an ecosystem that's so just like Madrid. So very happy
amazing,
here. Mhm.
amazing. Yeah, awesome. I could ask you a lot more about Madrid, but I won't. We can make another show for that.
No,
I,
no simple questions.
um, I am very keen to unpack a lot more about what you're working on, and maybe just to start with, it'd be great to understand uh, what is Sprout and what is Enverse, and tell us all about both.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go with Embers first because
Yeah.
we started Embers before. So
Yeah.
Embers Labs, we're a software agency that builds future-proof solutions for forward-thinking companies. So we really put forward kind of sustainability, accessibility, and kind of, taking it to the next level when it comes to digital solutions. And yeah, we've been active now for about 3.5 years. We started in Paris. I'm currently in Madrid at the moment, but like my business partner is currently in between Paris and Vancouver and so on. So we're pretty much remote first. And then we're also working on Sprout, which, as you just said, is a no-code platform that allows anyone to build sustainable websites within minutes, of course.
Amazing. Amazing. I reckon it'd be great to hear more about both of these. I think clearly your passions are in building for the web, but building in a very mindful way that is conscious of the planet, our impact on the planet, also related topics as well, like accessibility. So it'd be great to understand how you got to this place. Like, what was the path that you went on to ultimately be doing what you're doing now, Jesse?
Yeah, so I guess my background, so I started in the startup scene. I was working in
Mm,
Paris for about 6 years. Um, I started off as a software engineer and then moved on to product roles. I came to a point in my life where I wanted to find something a bit more impactful, I
mm,
guess. And to be fully honest with you, like I knew nothing about sustainability or climate or climate tech. It was just purely because took some time off, started reading about this big subject, which was the climate crisis, and through I started reading, and in the beginning, we wanted Embers to be kind of an agency that just provided solutions to climate issues. But
mm,
the more I started reading about it, the more I started realizing that, in fact, tech is a huge part of the problem.
Mm.
And I'm sure you've heard this quote before, but I guess it was back in 2020, 2021, where there was that, where they said that 4% of global emissions came from the internet. And that was very
Mm.
impactful for me. And I was like, okay,
Mm.
surely there's something we can do here. And that's how Embers Labs was born. And we've been active for now 3.5 years. We're lucky to have contributed to projects and with massive companies like, Isdin. We've worked with Pivot, which is a leading startup now in France. We worked with Kering, the fashion brand, United Nations.
Mm.
We've had the pleasure to work with incredible clients.
That's amazing. And so with these clients, you've been working on their web presence, is that right, Jesse? And helping them think about how they can build websites that are more conscious of their environmental impact.
Yeah, so the service, like we have a wide range of services,
Mm.
from the actual design to the audits. So, for example, we've worked with École des Mines, Fondation des Mines, which is one of the top engineering schools in France, just to do audits of their systems.
Mm.
We've created projects from scratch. We've gone into systems to optimize. We've a wide range of things that we've done, but all of them having to do with uh, changing how changing the way we build things digitally. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. That's a incredible journey in a relatively short space of time over a few years. Really, it's
Mm.
incredible the kind of impact you've already been having. I'm curious. Then, did so you've been working on Sprout, the
Yep.
no code kind of platform. Did that come out of the lessons you were learning from those client projects? Was it something that you had an itch and you really wanted to build it yourselves and felt that you wanted it more than anyone? I'm curious how that came about
Yeah.
and what the spark was for building that.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a few reasons why we started it. I think the first one was that there's lots of bigger companies that are aware of their impact, primarily because of regulation or because they have to um, report their scopes and so on. Therefore, they look into their tech stacks and take action, right? But
Mm.
there's also lots of smaller companies or individuals that also want a more sustainable presence. Um, because the website usually or website or app is not it's their main point of entry, and they really want to make sure that they're not only talking the talk, they're walking the
Mm.
walk. Okay?
Mm.
So there's that part where there was smaller companies that also wanted a sustainable website, but probably couldn't afford going to an agency and actually, getting it done for them.
Mm.
So we were thinking, okay, how can we kind of is there a tool that we can provide these people so that they can also start creating sustainable websites? And then there was another big part, which was talking with other agencies and freelancers,
Mm.
um, that they were very much aware of the demand for sustainable digital products, but they don't know where to start.
Mm.
I think it's there's incredible communities and networks that are actually pushing that knowledge out there on how to build something a bit more sustainable, but it's still very hard to access. It's
Mm.
also a new subject, so all the info that we currently have is very new, so you need to navigate through all these resources. So we're like, okay, let's also provide something to these actors, whether it be agencies or freelancers, that can actually we're giving them a tool to kind of you know produce for that for the demand that they're having, right? So it's a new kind of service that they can provide to their clientele.
Yeah, it that totally makes sense. I'm curious. I guess there's so many areas here where things must overlap with what we're doing at EcoSend. In that, I'm sure anyone listening to this will be aware that there are many ways one can go about building a website, and there are many ways one can go about sending an email newsletter. Um,
Yeah.
how do those conversations get started, or how did the users come about Sprout and ultimately decide to adopt Sprout? And how are you juggling those conversations when, from what I've seen, at least on our side, people want to use sustainable tooling, but then their needs as a business also are often the overriding priority. Like, how do you juggle those? How do you find customers that ultimately want to make the switch?
Yeah. So I think that's a really good point because sustainability is, I guess, currently seen as a nice to have.
Yeah.
I think businesses care about money
Mm.
and having new
Yes.
clients. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Um, so we really need to keep those in mind, right? And so I often say that, if you have a product A, if you have a product A and it's not sustainable, but it's great, and you have a product B that's okay and
Mm.
sustainable, they'll often go for the one that's
Mm.
a better product, right? So the way we try to manage this is to build a product that's as good or better than the competition, and make sure that we can integrate that sustainability in there,
Mm. Mm.
allow it to, because again, another big thing is that when a product is sustainable, it is also much lighter. So therefore,
Sure.
it's more performant. It's also better in SEO. So there's lots of benefits within the product
Mm.
that kind of where we play with as well, right? We can't just
Yeah.
rely on sustainability itself.
Yeah. No, that massively resonates. And I think one of the conversations I've had with a few other people in the space is often there's always in any team there's often people that care about sustainability more than others. And I think sometimes that word sustainability can actually be translated into something that maybe connects more with someone's own responsibilities. Like sometimes sustainability means efficiency, it sometimes means performance. And um, I find that
Mm.
so interesting in terms of, and I'd be curious on your take on it. Like, do you care that people are buying Sprout for the sustainability, or do you just care that people are buying Sprout full stop and that it is the most sustainable option?
Can you repeat that again, just so I understand
Yeah, yeah,
correctly?
yeah. I guess, do you care that people are buying adopting the Sprout builder and platform for sustainability primarily? Like, are they buying it? Do you care about that, or do you just want people to be using Sprout, knowing that it is a sustainable platform? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
no, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely care about them using Sprout for its
Mm.
sustainability because, again, what- every small, we're shaving off, maybe, I guess, depending on the actual um, traffic that the user has, but I mean, every person that adopts a tool like this, we're shaving off a bit more impact, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
it's that's the main idea behind it.
Mm.
We know that it's like anything really, it's not a perfect solution, but it's there to guide the user
Mm.
into better practices,
Mm.
um, better reasoning when creating web products, right? So that's
Mm.
really the important aspect for us.
Mm,
I also care for them using it for all the other reasons, of course, because
mm,
I love seeing, we're passionate about having proper digital products. I'm sick and tired of seeing bloated Squarespace websites or stuff that really have way too many resources when they shouldn't. So yeah, I love people adopting the minimal kind of tools, whether it be Sprout or anything else, really.
yeah, yeah. I that's a very mature answer. I appreciate it, Jesse. I wanted to touch on one of the topics you also wanted to, I know that you were keen to discuss, which I guess relates on this a bit, which was making the invisible visible. And I think that, you just touched on sort of people using website builders of all sorts, making really, the flashiest website they can, wanting to stand out. Um,
Yeah.
how do you convince people that this thing that's they're not going to see, they don't even necessarily know about, matters? And how do you
Yeah.
get them to care about that in the context of the web? Like I'm against all of those other priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you're right. So what we're trying to do is make the invisible visible. And what we're trying to do here is that people are not aware of the footprint digital products have. I
Mm,
believe possibly it's because it's not tangible. Therefore,
yeah,
if it's not
yeah.
there, it must not have a footprint. Um, but so what we're trying to do with either Ember Slabs or with Sprout is to show the users, whether they have an end product or they're building one, the actual footprint that it has, right? So taking Sprout as an example, we try to, within the platform itself, we guide, well, once the user does any changes to the website, we have a calculator within the platform that shows the actual weight of the page
Mm,
and the footprint it has. So that,
mm,
if that user goes on and, thinks that adding a huge video or some sort of streaming feature within a platform and they think that that's a good idea, they can actually see that in fact it might have an impact. It might have a greater impact than expected. So we want to,
mm,
show this to the user at all times and guide them, through the best practices. Because I think ultimately that was the way we learnt. We weren't
mm.
really aware of the impact it had until we saw the actual metrics, until we saw the actual numbers behind our apps. And we want to really push that towards our users.
That's such an interesting point. I mean, it's something that we've been exploring ourselves at EcoSend as well. The idea that sort of playing with something, tinkering with it, changing it, and seeing what that does, I think is one of the most powerful ways for people to learn. When you compare that to reading in a book or hearing someone else talk about it, it's
Yeah.
when you're there creating something and crafting something, often as a marketer or a website builder, you're thinking about visitor numbers and traffic or conversion rates or open rates,
Mm.
but none of the tooling out there today really shows that in anything relating to the environment. And I think there's something I think incredibly empowering about that as users of your product, they
Yeah.
can they can make these changes that I guess multiply out by the hundreds of thousands of millions when you think about the visitors that come to those sites.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And then, touching on that subject, we shouldn't make the mistake of only looking at, the footprint. Sorry.
Mm,
I think when we're looking at true sustainability or the subject as a whole, we should always consider, the wider range of things. So, how accessible it is a huge factor as well, how performant and how usable the actual platform is. Because yes, it can be extremely sustainable, but I mean, if people can't access it, or it only works on the latest devices, then it's not really doing its job. So I think you're completely right with that. We currently don't show it as much. We should show it more, but it shouldn't be a complete picture of the things either.
Yeah, I think there's a something really exciting there in that. As something I increasingly find interesting is just like the impact. The just thinking about people in the digital people in the digital world. That sounds very like futuristic or like 80s futuristic. People that are responsible for a web presence, whether that's a website, an email campaign, things like that. They have an opportunity to consider the environment in what they are creating. But I think there's also the environment in terms of the digital impact directly of what they're doing, but then there's the message, the wider message as well of what they're sending and the choices they're making. And that to me excites me a lot as well. Like how many people, when you think about what you are doing, Jesse, and then your direct customers, but then the customers or visitors of all of those customers, potentially the decisions you make can impact millions of people. And
Exactly.
and I think that knock-on ripple effect is just such an amazing thing. And I think a lot of digital practitioners maybe haven't grasped that enough yet to fully embrace it.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's what we're trying to do at Sprout, right? We're trying to, apply certain rules. We don't want to limit users completely either, but guide users in a sense, because we're firm believers of that ripple effect. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I uh, I guess that kind of touches on another one of your topics you wanted to talk about, which is sort of this idea of progress over perfection, and that's, I guess, a topic that maybe a lot of people get caught up in the world of sustainability. I know, especially at the start for us, we almost didn't begin EcoSen because we were so worried about getting things wrong. And I think a lot of people have that fear in the world of sustainability that they will say the wrong thing, or like, you're so by so I'm curious how that kind of has influenced your work, Jesse, and what you're up to.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's such a stigma, right? People they expect perfection at all times, when in fact that's not going to happen. We believe in making small amounts of progress. And it's seen in our platform as well. If we can help the user, guide the user to use let's say a very simple example would be to use a web-based font rather than the downloadable thing that's, just those tiny increments of progress can make a big change later on, right? We're completely aware that, if we were to follow the exact perfect standard of sustainability on the web, no one would use the website, because I mean, let's be honest, like we shouldn't be using images on our website, but I mean, we have to face the reality. There's not going to be a perfect state of sustainability. So let's kind of like guide them to a better state. And yeah, it's pretty hard because I think of all industries, sustainability is really the ones that call you out, right? If you're not doing it completely well, and so on. I think no, that just kills any sort of motivation or progress in a sense, because we should be acting in small steps, like in any other thing, right? So yeah.
Totally. I a lot of that resonates again. And yeah, I think something we talk about a lot is, if there's no point building the most sustainable version of anything if the ultimate product sucks. And like for us, there's no
Yeah.
point building a sustainable email solution if no one wants to use it because your emails have to look so ugly that no one wants to read them. Like then the impact just shrinks to zero. So I think it's such a difficult thing though, and I think anyone in this profession is always struggling with that. You know, trying to compete with often players and platforms that don't care at all, and trying to compete for as effective, or if not a more effective product, while delivering on those sustainability goals. I have huge respect for anyone trying to do that.
Yeah, definitely. No, I completely agree, and like I said, we completely believe in, you know, we shouldn't see it as a black or white kind of world in a sense. There's certainly a lot of gray in between, and we believe in guiding people towards better decisions. And if these decisions are made in a digital world, that's even better. So that's why Sprout's there.
Yeah. I feel like we've gone so far, and I haven't even asked you like for any of the features of Sprout that like enable this. I was just curious, like, it'd be great to hear, like, I mean, maybe some people out there might be familiar with something like Squarespace or WordPress for building a website. I'm curious, like, Jesse, what are some of the things you've been working on, either that you have today or that maybe you have coming in the future that help people be more mindful of their footprint of their websites?
Yeah. So before I talk about the features, I must say that we're still in the closed beta phase.
Yeah.
So we've come out with a first version of the MVP, and we're currently testing with a few users. So I guess the primary features here are, well, you have a no code kind of editor that allows you to drag and drop and really build a proper website. I think we took about a year in creating this MVP because of that aspect, right? So all the drag and drop system is done from scratch, which is very hard to make from a tech perspective. But Chris and Jono and James and my team have definitely powered through and have done an excellent job. We're getting really good feedback on that aspect because it's extremely, big part of what we want to do is to make sure that it's super easy to create a website. Extremely easy. And sometimes you find platforms like Squarespace and so on, you just get lost. You don't even know where to start. And super, we've worked with Gabri from Heights Digital, one of the leading sustainable software design agencies, and they're based in London, to build this UI that seems super intuitive. So big shout out to Gabri there. So we have that part. We also have a live carbon calculator. So every block or everything that you put into your website, you'll have a live what do you call? I was going to say number.
Counts or like a
count,
total? Yeah.
Exactly. Sorry, my language is mixed up.
No, don't worry.
You're also able to see the page weight at the same time. All the actual so the websites that are built have minimal JS. Just on average, our websites are around 35 kilobytes, which is ridiculous.
Substantially smaller than the average. I don't want to name any names, but yeah. Yeah.
So we try our best. That's obviously not going to be the case for all of the websites, but that's what we currently have. And then, we're also we have an accessibility, I wouldn't say calculator, but at least it gives you a how do you say? Not a calculator.
Like a score?
Not an audit. That was the word that I was trying to the whole time. We're also we're actively working on that accessibility score. So each feature that you also drag in has contributes to your accessibility score.
Yeah.
We have contrast checks as well. Accessibility is a huge part of our website. You have there's quite a few things, but yeah, just in the actual backend in itself, we use a lot of server-side rendering. All the actual websites that are published are then, as I said, mostly HTML, CSS, but very functional. So there's been a lot of work done on that aspect, but of course I'm going to leave the technical team to talk about that. And what else? We have a few things in the works. So like if you want to add images, we want to have an image compressor that does it actively within the app. And then what we would love to do is to also make sure that Sprout is a hub for other sustainable web features. For example, I've heard of this platform called EcoSend. It would be incredible to integrate something like that, or have a marketplace of sustainable alternatives within like Sprout.
Amazing. That's I mean, honestly, that's painted such a good picture for anyone who's not seen the tool. To think about. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people there are thinking like, oh my goodness, I wonder what would happen if I tried to build my current website with this. So I'm like, what would it be like? What would the score be? So I love as well that you've got, it's not just about sustainability, but the accessibility is such an important and I think very overlapping area of interest for a lot of people that certainly that watch the show and that we talk to. So thank you for summarizing that, Jesse. And in terms of the beta, so it's closed. Are there plans to open it up to more people? What can people do to go check it out, or go get on a list? Can they sign up?
Yeah, definitely. So you can sign up on sprout.site at the moment. You can enter your email. We're doing a kind of phased approach for the moment. So we're just selecting a few users at a time to really take the time and do proper product demos. We really want to, listen to users and kind of take their inputs to then define what's going to be next for Sprout. I think this is, a very democratic approach we're taking here. We really want to give voice to the current users. We are currently, we've just done our version 1. We're going to be, finishing these tests in a few weeks, and then we're already going to start looking at opening it up to the public, I guess.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
The dates are to be detailed.
Yeah, we won't hold you to that on here, Jesse. Don't worry. Amazing. That's so exciting. I knew this would happen. We've flown through our time, Jesse, and I'm realizing so people can go check out sprout.site. They can also go to nverselabs.com. We'll put those links in the show notes. I wanted to make sure we just touched on you maybe have received some advice over the years. Maybe you want to pass anything on. Was there anything you wanted to kind of finish on, Jesse, in terms of sharing anything?
I think that I guess progress over perfection, which we mentioned before. It's definitely not my words over there. It's something I've been hearing quite a bit, and it's so true. Let's not focus on perfection. Let's focus on progress. I think that's the proper way of going.
Absolutely. Wise words indeed, Jesse. Thank you so much. Jesse, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you today, and you filled me with inspiration and ideas already, and I'm wanting to try out the tool myself now, and I'm hoping many people will be hearing this and inspired to go take a look at their own websites, think about how they can make their own websites more conscious of the world around us. So thank you for sharing your story today, Jesse.
Thank you. It was great chatting.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you for those of you who are listening. If you've enjoyed today's show, You know what to do. Please give us a like, give it a 5 stars, give it a lovely comment if you can. Tell your friends, your family, anyone you know about this, especially if they build websites or are interested in the web. Like, go tell them about this because it would be great for more people to hear Jesse's story. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.